We are studying the Aikamatya Sukta. In the last class, we studied the first mantra. Today, we are going to study the second mantra. Om Sangachadvam Sambadadvam Sambho Manamsi Janatam Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate. So here you will see that this is in the second person plural. So the whole mantra is in second person plural. That means the teacher or the chanter is addressing the entire assembly who are sitting right in front of him. So he says, "Oh, all of you who have assembled here to worship, hey Stotaha." Stota means worshippers. Many people worship for different reasons. Many people worship for different things. But each person who is worshipping is having one top priority on his mind. So he will be only asking for that particular thing. But when the entire assembly is sitting together and every one of them is praying, even though the individual prayer, what they want is different, but all of them are praying for something. Okay? So that means the basic issue is everybody wants something. And therefore, all of them are praying. Only it so happens that all of them are sitting together and worshipping. Say, for example, if you are in a temple or if you are in an assembly, then you will see that several people are sitting and praying. But the prayer mantras used may be the same. But what the individual is asking for may become different. So, a person who is interested and cares for everybody in the assembly, because you would never come into an assembly unless that there is a common purpose, and many times the assembly is harmonious because everybody is our friends, relatives, and all of them. So therefore, when this assembly is there, how can each person get what he wants? In this mantra, it says that you can get what you desire by cooperation only. Because I may be worshipping and praying for one purpose, and my next person will be praying for another purpose. But what I am praying for, the next person might have in surplus, isn't it? So therefore, I have something in surplus that I can share with others. Another person has something else in surplus which they have, and in an assembly there is a surplus of availability when you look at all the persons in the assembly, and there is also a lacuna in each one of them that is participating. So how do we make sure that everybody gets what they want? First thing is, this mantra is saying we have to develop an attitude of sharing, an attitude of dana. So that is the first principle. The second principle is, I am ready to give, but I also want something. And therefore, the other person who is ready to give, I must accept it. So the complementary principle is, I will also accept what I receive from another person. So this dual purpose is called dana and parigraha. Parigraha means taking it from another person, given to me. charitably, generously. So therefore, the gift, the give and take is the first message of this mantra. Then for doing that, what is necessary? So the teacher is now saying, the Rishi is now saying, Sam gachadvam, you move together. Samyak, properly, gachadvam, move, travel together. So it is not just a crowd rushing from one place to another place. There also they are moving together. But this is in an orderly manner. In tandem you move together, and you all of you move in step. So when everybody in the assembly who are praying is moving in tandem and in step, without overtaking somebody or rushing not to allow another person to catch up, all this is sangachadvam. So you can see this is both physically and spiritually and intellectually. Samvadadvam. Samvadadvam means the needs are many, many, the desires are many, many. Then I will develop an attitude through my speech. Vada means I will say, please utter, please say. Say and develop an attitude of both dana and parigraha. So one of the most important things is there will be some people who always want to give and hesitate to accept. Then there are people who will always be accepting and hesitate to give. But here this mantra is saying, develop an attitude of both dana and parigraha. And then receiving something that is parigraha from somebody without the attitude of giving is misappropriation. This Ishavasya Upanishad also says, Ma gradha kasya svidhanam tyaktva bhunjitaha. So two phrases are there in Ishavasya. Ma gradha kasya svidham, don't grab somebody's without giving something in return. Tyaktva bhunjitaha, by giving you enjoy. Who? Vaha sangachadvam samvadadvam sam vaha manamsi janatam. Vaha means it is a plural of plural of the yushmat shabda. That means yushmat. Yushmat means you. For that it is Dvitiya Vibhakti. Those of you who are interested in grammar, it is Yushmat Shabda, Dvitiya Vibhakti, Bahuvachana. It is second person. Then it is Samjanatam, that is you, Samyak Janatam, understand each other well. So what do we mean by understanding each other well? It is to proactively identify the other's needs. Because if we really become sensitive to what the people are going through, then intuitively we will know there is something that this person needs, and then we examine whether we have those resources and the generosity to give. All this knowledge about somebody else is called samjanatam, that is positively identifying each other's needs. How? By understanding their mind. Therefore, manamsi, samvo manamsi janatam. This is, in other words, in Sanskrit called as ingita jnana or parengita jnana. That means the knowledge of what is going on in the mind of somebody else without them articulating. And we are all quite capable of doing this, because most of the communication is non-verbal, whether it is at home or at our work. So therefore we are already used to this non-verbal understanding. And so now he says, you please develop this attitude, refine this attitude, and strengthen this attitude. Especially when some very important major project is underway, every hand on deck, as they say. And then, what is the precedent? Now the mantra says, Yatha purve devaha bhagam sanjanana. Just as in the ancient times, all the devatas actually conducted themselves in this. Purve means before. Purve also means before somebody asks you for that favor. So both interpretations are there for Purva. So, because a person who has got immense amount of self-respect and Atma-abhimana will never ask. But he needs. And therefore we need to have the intuitive knowledge of what the other person needs. Just like the gods, without our asking for, knowing that what we need, please don't misunderstand, not what we want, knowing that what we need, all the devatas grant. There is no being, living being in the whole universe who will not get what they really need. Some exceptions, karma, pala, and so on and so forth, but there are more exceptions than the rule. The rule is that everybody gets what they need because devatas, purve, even before we ask for, is given. Say, for example, we have got to work off all our karma, we had to work off our lives, past lives karma. So without our asking, purve, before we were born, devaha, all the gods knew this person needs a human body. Because without the human body, he cannot work away the karmas. Devatas cannot work off their karmas. Then jantus or the small lower beings cannot work off their karmas. Only human life. So therefore, wherever there is an increased balance of karma, without our asking, purve devaha sanjanana, knowing that we need, gives us our body, and so on and so forth. And therefore, just as the devatas sat together, upasate means upasate, they sit together in cooperation, in harmony. Like that, let us also sit together, each other, remain united, care for each other, pay attention for each other. This is the message of this mantra. That is, like the gods, constantly practicing give and take. All the gods also demand us to give. Then they are always in the proximity of us. All the devatas are in the proximity with us. They share and walk together with us. No one is and exists in isolation. United in thought, united in speech, and united in action. So you may recall the story I had told a few months ago, that is where the Chaturmukha Brahma wanted to develop this idea of dana and sharing. So what he did was he called all the devatas and rakshasas, and then he tied them up at his elbow. At this elbow, he puts a stent, and then so that you cannot bend your hand. And then they were made to sit at the tables. So in 2 rows, that is, the table is in the center, and 2 rows of chairs are there, and then there was a feast that was served. But unless you fold your elbow, you cannot eat. So the devatas were seated at one table, the rakshasas were seated at one table. So then how can you eat? So what the devatas did was, they took the morsel of food and fed to the devatas sitting in the opposite chair. So that way, all the devatas were fully satisfied with an excellent feast because they fed each other. Whereas the Rakshasas starved. because they would not share it with anybody. And this is the mantra can also be applied to knowledge. Sam means knowledge. May this jnana always be with me. May this jnana always be with you. Vaha. Backed by jnana, let us be speaking. Backed by jnana, we will communicate. And when I am receiving the information, let there be a perfect gachadvam, sangachadvam, samvadadvam, samvomanamsi janatam. These three map to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasam. Listening, contemplation, practice. So therefore, united with knowledge, always being in the close proximity of the knowledge, just as the Devas. So what do the Devas do? They take their share. They will not appropriate another person's share. What is the example? You remember that all our sense organs are called Devas. Our indriyas, that is eyes, ears, all these indriyas, all these sense organs are called Devas. So what does this Devas do? Let us take the example of the Jnanendriyas or organs of knowledge. There are the eyes. The eyes, what does it do? The eye, in the totality of knowledge that is available, it will only take its share. And its share is form only. So it will not appropriate taste, for example. So therefore, what is these devatas doing? The Chakshur Devata, Surya in the eye, in the availability of the knowledge will take only form. The ears will only appropriate sound. And how do they do? Upasate, being near. That is why most of the Jnanendriyas are in proximity to each other. Look at the design of Ishvara. Eyes, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, of course touch. All the 5 organs of knowledge are in such close proximity in our face. So what are the devatas doing? They are sitting close, near to each other, fully conscious of the need of others, and therefore every one of these devatas who are sitting together will get their share. Therefore the indriya of seeing gets its share of knowledge, hearing gets its share of knowledge. But what is this total? 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is not 5, but it is infinite. So the beauty of upasana is whenever we are contemplating in tandem, then in that case the contact with the outside world, which is defined as akara, the internalization of knowledge, which is called ukara, and the wisdom that comes out of this contact and internalization is makara, and that it makes it om. And then you can also see in the yajna vidhi, in the ritual of yajna, specific roles are given to the specific priests. The one who is specializing in Rigveda is called the Hotru. One who is following the Yajurveda is called the Adhvaryu, who conducts the yajna. The Samavedi is the one who invokes the gods by prayer, Udgatru. And there is an overseeing person who knows all the procedures, the Brahma. each one of them will play their role. They will not actually transgress. You must have seen in all the yajnas where it is conducted, the Brahma will not be talking, but he will just be participating in the yajna. It is the Advaryu who will be actually offering the various haves, and therefore there is no competition, there is always a collaboration. So therefore, the you can also see actually visually the vibhuti that Murali is wearing on his forehead. The 3-line vibhuti that he is wearing on the 3 head. That maps very beautifully on this mantra. So the unity of the 3 is symbolized by our wearing the 3 horizontal lines, also known as vibhuti. So this vibhuti methodology is we always start from the left of our forehead, and then we actually draw 3 lines across, and this is above the eyebrows. The eyebrows are the Ajna Chakra, and below the hairline. So below the Sahasrara Chakra. This is the area of knowledge. Therefore, the 3 pundra or the 3 lines of vibhuti is done. So what is the significance of this wearing of the 3? What does it remind us? And what should it represent? I am drawing from the very, very ancient Rishi Bodhayana Maharshi. This Bodhayana Maharshi gives us an explanation of why this 3-line vibhuti is worn. The top line represents Rigveda. Among the Agnis used in the Yajna, Garhapatya Agni. Among the 3 gunas, the Rajoguna. Among the 3 realms, Bhuhu. Among the functions, it is Kriya Shakti. It is the great god Maheshwara and A of the Omkara. Then what does this middle line represent? It represents Yajurveda. The Dakshina Agni. There are 3 Agnis in major yajnas. The Dakshina Agni, the Sattva Guna, the Bhuvaha realm, the Ichcha Shakti, Sadashiva, and Ukara. So Sadashiva iconography is where the linga has got 5 faces on top. Then the lower line represents Samaveda, Ahavaniya Agni, Jnana, Suvaha, Paramatman, and Makara. So thus, every time you wear these 3 lines of vibhuti on your forehead, that means you are Sangachadvam, Samvadadvam, Samvomanam, Sijanatam. All these 3 forces that we talked about, all of them, what do? They move together. See, that is why when you draw, you start from here, you don't lift your fingers, and you actually draw the line continuously. One line doesn't go faster than the other or slower than the other. So there is Sangachadvam. And when they are moving, they are speaking all these 7 items, each one of them. So Samvadadvam. And this is represented in the ritualistic way of wearing the vibhuti also. So thus you will see it's an extremely beautiful mantra. Sangachadvam, Samvadadvam, Samvomanam Sijanatam, Devabhagam Yatha Purve, Sanjanana Upasate. So in all the weddings that I officiate, I always at the end give an advice to the newlyweds. This is the spirit which you should enter into your married life. Hari Om. Now,
Ashwata, can I ask you one question, Ashwata,
sure,
if you
sure,
don't mind?
sure.
Can you go back, at least for the benefit of, I think, all of us, Hotru, you said Advaryu, and
Hot-
then for Samaveda, you said Udgatru, is that what
Udgatru.
you say?
Udgatru. Udgatru means one who
Udgatru.
sings. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ut,
Udgatru,
ut,
right?
ut means
But,
high. Ut means high volume.
okay,
Gatru means singer. One who
okay,
sings with a high
Udgatru.
volume and then invokes the gods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And Advaryu is actually for performing the ritual.
Correct. The one who
Hotru for Rigveda, you said, what was the function?
the function of Hotru is the Udgatru, Samavedin, will actually invoke the gods and ask them to come to the altar. And on their arrival at the altar, the first thing is you have to do the prayer. See, even in puja paddhati, what do we do? Dhyayami and then avahayami. So first you have to pray. So that prayer is done by Samaveda. And then the Rigvedin, what it does is using the hymns. That's why, all our Rigvedic hymns are all prayer hymns. All of them. And then when they do the prayer, the gods who have come there are honored. Then the yajna is performed by Advaryu, and it is overseen by Brahma, who is actually an expert in all the Vedas.
Thank you, Ashwata. Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome. So it is not just a religious symbol or anything
Right.
having the Tripundra. You see, there is a lot of controversy. People will be arguing and fighting. Is Nama better? Is Mudra better? And all that. See, all that is ignorance. That's all. So even if a person wears a Nama, what does it mean? It means these three only.
Three only, right?
These three only. So to symbolize that and to remind us, because when we actually wear all these things, then the moment you look at yourself in the mirror, all the concepts that we talked about will come to our mind. Then it becomes a sanjanana, that is knowing very well. Upasate, with full knowledge a person worships.